You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From Los Angeles, California, and Maria Menounos, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV Spotlight On. Spotlight On is a long-form interview series featuring actors and TV personalities. And now, from the world's number one TV after-show platform, this is AfterBuzz TV Spotlight On.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to AfterBuzz TV's Spotlight On interview series. I am your host, Michelle Renee, and I am joined with the Mack himself.
Yes.
That's why we are listening to Return of the Mack, which
Yes.
I just figured out what the song meant, actually.
Yes.
He was a reformed player. Now he's back in the game
Back in
after
the game.
getting played.
Letting the ladies know he's back.
He is back. Return of the Mack. Speaking of Macks, I am here with my guest for today, Tariq Nasheed,
Yes.
a.k.a. King Flex, a.k.a. Tariq Elite,
Yes.
a.k.a. the Mack. What other nicknames?
The ladies call me Denzel Sausageton. That's one of my names. I got so many of them. Yeah. But yes, Tariq Nasheed, TN, King Flex. I have a whole bunch of them. Tariq Elite, a whole bunch of them.
Well, we are super excited to have you here today.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. So let me give a little bit of background on my guest. New York Times bestselling author.
Yes.
Not too many people can say that. So
Yes.
that's awesome. You've been on tons of like network television shows, interviews with Late Night with Conan O'Brien,
Yes.
The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. You are currently making documentary,
Yes.
films. What else? Relationship expert.
Relationship books. I have
Yes.
5 books. I have actually 5 relationship books. So I have several bestsellers. Pat myself on the back just a little bit.
And for the women and men, which
For
is
women
great.
and men, exactly. It's not just the guys. I got books for women, Play or Be Played. I have a book for women called The Art of Gold Digging. So I have a whole bunch of information for men and women.
Oh, The Art of Gold Digging. I did see that.
Yes, yes. And I see a twinkle in that little eye of yours. I see a twinkle.
No, don't listen to him. He's also a radio host.
Yes, yeah.
That's probably why he's so comfortable up here. But and I read that you have a day named in your honor in
Yes,
Buffalo, New York.
New York. Yes, November 1st is Tariq Nasheed Day in Buffalo, New York. Shout out to the people in Buffalo.
Wow.
Yes.
You're awesome.
I'm trying.
I have a note here to wish you a happy belated birthday. You just
Thank you so
celebrated a
much.
birthday.
Thank you so much.
What did you do?
I just kicked it. I just chilled. I want to see if I was out of town. I can't remember, but I just.
Well, it's close to the 4th of July, so you
Right.
probably.
I think I was going out of town at the time, but yeah. But thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's get it. We're of course here because we're gonna, focus on the films that you're making because the 3rd installment of Hidden Colors,
Yes.
was just released, right?
Yes,
July
it was.
4th. So we're gonna get into that a little bit later, but I just want to start by letting all the fans listening kind of get some background on you and how you, have become the like multimedia mogul that you are. So your childhood, going
Right.
back to your childhood, you were born in Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
Moved-
And moved from Detroit to Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, so
I
two
lived-
different worlds.
Two
Totally
different worlds,
right there.
absolutely. And I was in Alabama, Birmingham through most of my childhood. I left Birmingham at around 17. I left and I came to Los Angeles by myself. I just left everything behind. I think I had $100 in my pocket, and I came out here to LA because I wanted to be a music producer. I wanted to be a rap music producer.
I was gonna ask that.
Yes.
Why did you really come? Was it for the
Yeah.
scene? Was it because you wanted to be an artist? Was it
Yeah.
because you want to be an actor? What?
I wanted to be a hip hop music producer. I came out here, so I was working in little studios and stuff out here, and I tried all types of little stuff. I had a little car shop that I had, a car rental thing that I had going on. I had all types of little hustles around town, and dating and relationships, that was just something that I would study just traveling around, because not only did I live in LA, I would go to different cities around the country and just kind of kick it and just get a vibe of people. And I would learn how people would interact in different cities. Different cities had different vibes. And I thought that was very interesting. When I went to certain spots, I could find out who had confidence and who didn't have confidence. And I saw that universal theme of game, who had game and who did not have game. So I really wanted to study the art of game and the art of having a tight mouthpiece in Mackin. So I studied that. Hung around with a lot of players out
Where
there.
does one go to study the art of macking?
The
street.
University of the Streets.
Okay.
So I would hang around a lot of street cats, learn that game from them, and I would read a lot of books, and I would give all of my friends dating and relationship advice, and I would mix in the stuff I would read from the books with the stuff I would learn from the players, and then it all meshed together, and that's how I got started as a game advisor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What city, you mentioned that you got kind of tips from different cities that you were around, some
Yeah.
being more confident than others. What would you say is the city that has the most game and then the city with like the least game of
Well,
like the major cities?
Well, the
in
game
America?
really depends on the guy, because sometimes I would travel to places with some of my friends, and certain cities I would get more play, and then I go to a city I wouldn't get any play, but my partner would get all the play. So it depended on the guys.
Okay.
And that was very interesting. Certain demographics, they reacted to certain dudes. Like I had a friend who was a real gangster dude. Now at this time in the early 90s, most women were scared of gangsters. You know, and all this cute thug skinny jean gangster, these ain't real gangsters. I'm talking about real gangsters with felonies gangsters.
With like teardrops
with
on the
teardrops
face.
when it wasn't cute.
No.
And most women were scared of these guys, but when I would go to certain cities, a lot of women would react to these guys positively. So I would take note of that.
What cities?
Louisville, one in particular, they love thugs in Louisville. That's
Okay,
a
shout out to
thug-loving city.
Louisville.
Yeah.
Shout out to Louisville.
And I would go to places at the time like Atlanta, where the women would respond to more preppy dudes at that time. At that time, it's a little different now. But again, just different cities had different reactions to the guys, and also with the women too, because the women, I noticed when women go to different cities, they get more play and more energy than other cities. Like some girls who get play down in Louisiana might not get play out here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a very regional thing. So I wanted to study that and just see the mindset behind that.
Okay.
And that's why I got started with the books and the game and teaching people relationships.
Wow, that definitely sounds like an awesome career, where it's something that you don't seem like you would be working, like to give someone relationship advice, to help someone, and at the end of the day, you're like doing them a service, and like you get to be proud and smile when they get to go on that date. It's like, oh, look at what I did, like kind of like matchmaking a little bit.
Yes, indeed,
Yeah.
it's matchmaking, definitely with a little twist to it.
So did you always, like growing up, were you always like a ladies' man, or were there times when you weren't getting girls and that kind of prompted your interest in learning how to get girls?
You know what? A lot of people think, well, were you just born with game? No, you don't. I made a lot of mistakes in the game. I've done some simp stuff, and simp stuff means
You got to give examples when you say
simp
that.
is a guy who does simple stuff. You do something lame, you do something corny, and you
You're
get
spending
played.
too much money.
I didn't do that though. I never tricked my money off.
I was just piggybacking off of the whole simp thing.
No, but
A
yeah, but the
simp
simping-
spends money, and it's like, why?
Yeah, that's one
Too
part of
much
simping,
money.
but that's tricking. All
Okay.
right, we take it to another level. But I
Okay.
did do some simping though. You know, cupcaking. That means holding hands too soon. Telling a woman you love her too soon. You know, women, they don't like that too much. So you gotta pace that stuff. So I made a lot of mistakes in the game. I've called women one too many times, and you're not supposed to do that. So I learned from my mistakes, and I would tell guys, okay, don't do this because it didn't work for me. So that's how I really codified the game.
Oh wow. Well, I mean, I guess you're an example then.
Yes,
It's
indeed.
Just if you're not born with it, you can come
You
up
can
and
learn.
you can learn.
Everybody can learn.
And you can start by getting some of your books to
Yes,
learn,
indeed.
some of Tariq's books to
Yes,
learn if
indeed.
you need some help. So then how did you make the transition, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
from being this professional relationship advice
Yes.
expert to making documentary films, which is what you're working on currently?
When I would do my relationship books, I learned that a lot of people would react to the book and ask questions based on race.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people would have different problems, or not problems, but issues about race. I would have certain brothers say, well, how can I meet some white women? And then I would have like white guys, well, this game work for me? I'm white. There's a lot of slang in this book. So I learned that there was a racial element that was not being addressed, because racial politics in this country is something that we really never talk about openly. It's something that's very taboo. And there's a direct correlation between race and relationships, because relationships is ultimately about procreation, people getting together and procreating. And when you procreate and talk about miscegenation and all that, we're getting into racial politics. And when you look at a lot of situations, such as the Elliot Rodgers case, the guy who shot up all those people up there in Santa Barbara, he was a dude who had relationship problems, and his relationship problems were based on his racist views. See, a lot of people ignore that. He had a lot of real strict racist views about African Americans, and even with the Donald Sterling situation.
Okay, I
that
was gonna
situation,
ask you about that.
right? That situation, when you look at it, it's all about race and relationships. He's having this relationship with this woman of color, but he wants her to act a certain way and don't bring other black folks around. So this is something that we have to talk about because, as the great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said, all roads always lead back to race. So that's something that I wanted to touch on because, again, I've always looked into that situation when it came to relationships. And I wanted to do documentaries that realistically talked about race. Because we talk about race in this country and it ends up being, well, what's wrong with those black people? They start talking about civil rights and the Klan and the skinheads. And that's not what racism is. It's deeper than that.
So what do you think is a deterrent or a reason why race in America is so glossed over, or why we don't discuss it in depth like you're doing in your films?
Right, because when you talk about race and racism is systematic. And when you talk about systematic racism, you have to talk about white supremacy because that's the only systematic form of racism there is. And that's something that has never been talked about, the mindset behind systematic white supremacy. That's something that's never talked about because, again, certain people benefit from the system of white supremacy.
Yeah,
it's a heavy thing. Yes. In so many words, yes.
Thank you for engineering our show, Ben.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So...
Ben is light skinned, by the way. He's that's Ben DeBarge. He's El DeBarge's brother.
Our engineer is Caucasian, so I was just giving him a shout out. Thank you for listening to our interview. So let's then, of course, get into the films. The third installment just came out.
Yes.
So it's Hidden Colors, The Rules of Racism. Okay, which is in particular doing interviews with like celebrity guests.
Yeah, I have a lot of people, a lot of pop icons, scholars in the movie because I like to get different points of views from different people within the African American community. I have educators, I have metaphysicists, I have psychologists, I have rappers, so we have authors, so just a different array of people to give the film spice, because that's another thing. I don't like my films to be boring, because a lot of times when you see documentaries about history, usually it's it's kind of slow and you're like, okay, and they're about to talk about the March on Washington. But I wanted electrifying people in the film, and people just take to the film. They love the film. When Hidden Colors 3 came out, it sold out in all the stores on July 4th. It's still right now the #1 documentary on Amazon right now, so it's doing excellent, and I'm so glad that people are responding to it.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How does this film, how does it stand alone from the other two, and how is it connected with them as a series altogether?
Right. With the first film, Hidden Colors 1, we really focused on a lot of untold history. The whole film was really about history. We talked about hidden history, like the Moors in Spain. We talked about that. We talked about Benjamin Banneker. We talked about people who helped Washington, D.C., built Washington, D.C. We talked about the African presence in America before Columbus. So we really focused on
religion,
history.
even a little bit.
We touched a little bit on religion in Hidden Colors 1. We got deeper in religion on Hidden Colors 2. Hidden Colors 2, we got into more scientific things. We talked about melanin, because melanin is something that's never really discussed either. So we talked about scientific racism, melanin, the prison industrial complex in part 2. In part 3, we talked about more issues pertaining to America, how racism got started, how racism is systematic, and how it's pushed into all areas of people activity like labor, law, politics, war. So we just really focused on America in Hidden Colors 3.
I have a question. I saw that you did an interview with BET.com, and I read this quote, and it kind of sparked some feelings that I have within myself sometimes, which this is a completely 100% honest moment here. But you said, it's very emotional when I do these films because you do uncover a lot. I know a lot of stuff already, but the more you dig, you open up that Pandora's box and you never know what's going to come out. So how do you, when you're doing all this research and putting these films together, how do you remain positive and not just want to have a nasty attitude? Because I know sometimes when I watch films about race, I'm not really calling my white friends that day. I'm not really going to be BFFs with them that day, So how do you stay positive and just not develop this hardened personality when you're dealing with looking at a system that is just, and being constantly reminded of how many ways African Americans are disadvantaged.
Well, you do, because,
systematically.
and a lot of people have that reaction, because I've seen a lot of people after they've seen Hidden Colors, certain people have different reactions. Most people have a very positive reaction, and I've had people say, man, I walked out the theater, I was mad as hell. And you see some soy milk, get out of here, you white milk. I mean, they're mad at anything white. But I tell people all the time with this series and with understanding systematic racism, to combat that, you can't be emotional, because that's not going to help anything. As a matter of fact, the dominant society, they want you to get emotional so they can punish you, so you can do something rash. They have a system to take care of people who get emotional. So what you have to do, you have to empower yourself. You have to be strategic. So this should give us the fuel to really get our money together, circulate our money, have a code of conduct that we have among ourselves, like other groups of people, and just empower ourselves economically. We have to empower ourselves, and that's the motivating thing that keeps the anger away.
So that was one of my questions to you. Moving forward, after people see these films and they kind of get the background on what is causing, the African American situation as it is in America, what needs to be done moving forward to change that? What would you say is like the one or two things that we can do moving forward?
Just like I said, the thing with African Americans, how the dominant society has controlled the African American community, they've done it economically. Most of the issues that we have can be traced directly back to economics. When you look at schools closing down, that's because we don't have the wherewithal and the funding to open the schools ourselves. When you see the unemployment rate with black people at an all-time high, that's because we're not owning the businesses we need to employ other black people. When you see medical issues with African American people, we don't have the medical funding to heal ourselves like we should, or eat the proper food. So it all goes back to economics. When we see black people getting beat up in the streets by police officers, we're not circulating our money enough to get these politicians in check. You need money for that. So a lot of times we get on this whole thing that we're going to pray and just hug and love everybody, which we do that after we get our money together. Let's get our money together, get economic empowerment, and then we just have a love fest.
So economics, getting
economics.
So what would you, what does that look like as a concrete example? What, black people opening savings accounts, not being encouraged not to spend as much?
Well, you do all the, like different groups around the country, like different Arab groups, when they come in, they okay, what's that? We all right? Okay. Is that the white man coming in here to hold us down? No, I'm joking. Are they coming to get me? No.
You said too much.
No, I know. No, but what I was saying is, we can look at examples of many people in the Asian community. When they come over, they circulate their money among themselves. They do business among themselves. They build schools among themselves and teach their own languages. They employ each other. Same thing with Jewish organizations. Jewish people, they do the same thing. Arab people, they do the same thing. And they still do business with others, but they take care of their own community first. See, with black people, we're taught to just do business with everybody, which is cool when you have it together. You got to have your own thing together. So again, we got to go back old school. Back in the so-called Jim Crow era, there were black insurance companies. Black people did want to do business with each other. Our problem is, many things in the dominant society, especially in the media, we are seeing so many negative images of ourselves. We start to see ourselves through the eyes of the dominant society, and we don't want to do business with each other. We look down on other black businesses because the dominant society looks down on that. So this is why I went into history in the film first, so we can understand who we were. We were not just slaves. We come from a great history, and we can be great again if we just wake up to our history.
What do you think of this idea that it takes money to make money, and maybe African American communities don't necessarily have the resources to start their own businesses? Would you argue that it's that they don't have the money, or that it's that they just don't want to start them because, like you said, they don't want to have to deal with, black people, black folks.
That's the thing. The problem is, it's the mentality. It's all about the mindset, because we have the money, because the thing is, we spend trillions of dollars every year. You have black folks who will line up around this block to get the new Jordans. You know what I'm saying? So we do have the money. We spend money. There's a saying that's always been said about a lot of African Americans. We will beg for what we need and spend money on what we want. And instead of buying what we need and spending our money on what we need, we'll save that money for the Jordans, the hair weaves, the blunts, the car rims, and all that stuff. And we got to let that go. Let's get the rims and the weaves and the shoes after we get our businesses, our schools, and our employment situation together.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But
Yes, indeed.
I know that it's going to, I mean, well, at least in my opinion, it's going to take, I don't know, kind of a while for that mentality to change, or am I just being pessimistic?
Well, what we have to do, we got to get a certain amount of black people. You don't need all. All you need is a certain group. And they just have to be thorough enough to just carry through, because we're not going to get everybody. Just in any situation, you won't get everybody. But if we get enough, that can make a difference. And this is what we're doing with the Hidden Colors series. Enough people know about it to make it successful. I mean, you got some dusty people out there who are like, Hidden Colors, what's that? I don't know, I ain't see it on BET. And I like BET. I just did a thing with BET. Shout out to BET. But I'm just saying, a lot of people, they don't know. They just watch one thing and they don't know anything outside of that. Certain people, we can't really save everybody. So we just got to worry about the people who want to change and do better things.
And then it's a trickle down.
Then it'll trickle down, because then when the dusty people, and I'm not saying that to disparage anybody.
Shade to the dusty people out there.
But when they see everybody else is building and leaving them behind, then they'll say, okay, it's time for me to get it together.
Well, social media,
Yes.
You used Kickstarter.
Yes.
To fund your films. And so in that aspect, I would think that you would be all pro social media. Do you think social media kind of has hurt the way in which African Americans come together for civil rights causes? For example, like with the whole Donald Sterling thing, which you mentioned earlier, I know a lot of people, I don't know, or like the whole Trayvon Martin thing. Let me go actually use that example, how there was like this whole like blackout your like Twitter page, but
Right.
there wasn't as much like actually like people getting together. Like, what do you think of social media and how that helps or either hurts kind of the new civil rights?
Yeah, social media, it's a gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse because what you do, you can get a lot of information out very quickly to organize. The bad thing is you can also use that as a form of activism, which is not really activism. So a lot of people say, okay, instead of going out and spending our money and circulating our money and going to the state building and having a meeting, I'm just going to sign a change.org petition. And I tell people petitions are really useless. We don't have to do the petition thing because nobody really takes a petition seriously. They take money seriously. And when you start taking people's money away, that's when they're going to listen.
So that's how we combat
That's
racism.
how we
'Cause that was
combat.
one of our questions. How do we combat racism?
Yes. You do it with your money. You fight with your paper. You do it with your money.
Well, anything else that you want to say about the films, or?
Well, hey, again, people can go to hiddencolorsfilm.com.
Where can they find them?
Yeah, hiddencolorsfilm.com, and you can go to amazon.com and get the film, and you can get my books too. We could talk about my books too. Let's talk about relationship. Let's talk what's going on with you.
Let's go back to relationship.
Yeah, what's happening in your relationship life?
Oh, okay. I mean, why are you asking? Personally, right? No, I'm just joking. But
because all the brothers out there would want to know. They want to know what's happening with you. You're shining. You fly. You shine bright like a diamond. So the brothers.
Tell me more. Tell me more. What's going on? I mean, I am a young, attractive girl in Los Angeles,
Yes,
and
indeed.
There's lots of guys that would like my attention.
Yes,
Some
indeed.
of them get it. Some of them don't.
Now, what kind of
so
men?
having fun with Mr. Wrong till I find Mr. Right.
So how long have you been with Mr. Right?
Oh, I haven't been with Mr.
Oh,
Right.
you haven't?
No, having fun with Mr. Wrong until I find Mr.
there
Right.
you go.
Or having fun with Mr. Right now until I find Mr. Right. Whichever you like.
So what kind of dudes do you like?
I like guys that are funny.
Okay.
Someone that shares my faith. I'm a Christian, so someone that's Christian, I would love that. Someone that has ambition. You don't necessarily have to have that much money, but as long as I see that you have goals and that you have a plan to get to where you want to be, then I can deal with that.
So all you brothers out there who work at Popeye's Chicken, if you have a goal, you got a chance, brother.
Yes, if you can get me a free 2-piece with a biscuit, I'm there.
So out here in Los Angeles, how do you think, as a woman, how do you think the dating game out here affects women in the industry?
That was actually one of my questions for you. In the industry?
Oh, just in
in the
general.
industry. Yeah, because that was one of my questions for you, but then we moved on to something else, so I just had skipped over that. But yeah, like how do you, okay, so I'll answer your question first, and then you can
from your perspective, yeah.
How does it affect women in the industry? Or I just think that there are so many women, a lot of attractive women, I don't know what the ratio of women to men is in Los Angeles.
It's a lot.
But
It's a lot out here.
A lot of women to a little bit of men.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just think men don't have to work for anything. So why would they? They, you know, they
It's
just
a lot of
I
competition.
yeah.
A lot of competition. I tell women all the time in Los Angeles, this is like the big leagues as far as dating, because you have an attractive woman coming in LA on the bus every 15 minutes.
Yes.
So
That's younger than you, thinner than
exactly.
you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's
So
crazy.
there's a lot of competition there. But again, if you're a quality woman, you can bypass all that. If you have your game tight, your mouthpiece crisp, your goals together, because again, what happens is that a lot of people hang around the Hollywood scene and then they get burnt out very quickly. But
Meaning they go out too much.
You're going
or...
out to Sunset. You're trying to be the next Kim Kardashian. Shout out to Kim Kardashian. No disrespect to her, but you know, people they're trying to be the video type of girl, just hanging out in the club, being seen with rappers, singers, the Hollywood scene, and that gets real burnt out. You got to upgrade your game if you're going to come out here and do that. This is what my book, The Art of Gold Digging, was about. It's not a negative book, but I tell women if you want quality people, you got to hang in quality places. Very important.
Yeah. I have no intention of finding the man that I'll marry in LA.
Why not?
I don't foresee it. I don't know. My crystal ball tells me that I won't.
You might be at 7-Eleven or Fat Burger somewhere, and some nice brother just roll up on you, and everything is cool. The energy and the vibe is there. Like, what type of dudes? What are the main 3 things you like in a dude? The main 3, not all, just the main 3.
Funny, Christian, and they don't even have to really be attractive. I've dated some ugly ducklings. I'm not gonna say any names, but I'm not gonna do y'all like that. But I don't know, just not a player, not a. One thing I can't stand, going back to social media, is I don't want to be scrolling through my Instagram news feed at like 2:00 in the morning and see a guy that I'm talking to or whatever like liking ass pictures. Excuse my language. You look so thirsty and so just desperate.
Now, have you had that happen?
Yeah.
And what did he say when you said,
he wasn't my boyfriend, but it was just a guy that I was like talking to. We were like casually dating. And he actually was liking some pictures and commenting on photos of a girl that I had gone to school with. And so I addressed it to him as if like, what if we end up like dating seriously and I take you back to like Black Alumni Weekend at my college. And this girl is like, oh, that's so-and-so's boyfriend. That's Michelle's boyfriend because he's been liking my photos on Instagram.
Then women will throw it in your face.
They will. And I'm like, so that makes me look bad. Like, you look thirsty. Just knock it off.
Right.
Yeah. And then, of course, he got mad at me and said he wasn't thirsty. And I haven't spoken to him in a while.
Wow.
He didn't like that.
Wow. Well, hey, now, how would you feel? How would he feel like you was on Boris Kojo's page liking his pictures? Huh?
It's just super thirsty. I mean, obviously, if you see something, I guess people are like physically attracted, nice ripped bodies, whatever. But I would never like one. I would mentally like it. I'm not going to physically like it. Make a mental like. Maybe I'll screenshot it and say like, oh,
certain dudes can feel if you're mentally liking it. Because
really?
because when women walk by, when you're out somewhere and there's a guy that we think you might like, we're looking at you. We're looking at you from the corner of our eyes, just seeing any kind of twitch, any kind of poker face on you. Because a lot of times what women do, you go out of your way to not look. You go out of your way to not make an expression, which is a giveaway as right there. Like,
do they?
Yeah.
I just look.
A lot of times. You just,
disrespectful.
You just look.
But
you just say, F them, look. Yeah.
I mean, you can look, but don't touch. I mean, what do you think? If you're on a date with you're a woman and you see an attractive woman walk by, I mean, do you just glance or you kind of like...
some guys play it off. You're like, you do one of those. You play it off.
What do you do?
No, I'm cool. I'm just like, I ain't
you
thinking...
the Mack.
I'm like, I ain't thinking about that woman over there. I play it... I play it off. I'm like, her? I'll waiter, I'll play it off.
Oh, that's
no,
sweet.
I'm
Yeah, we know.
No. But dating out here is very
it's difficult.
And also what the problems we have with dating now is social media too. That thing, it makes a lot of dating impersonal now, because now people think that they can just text message and tweet you all the time, and that not physical isn't sexual, but just being in a person's presence, that energy isn't there, and that's so very important. And that's one thing I tell guys all the time, because guys hit me up and they say, well, I'm trying to get with this woman and I need to know what to say and what to do. And I'm like, well, how long have you dated her? Well, I haven't met her yet. I mean, I'm just hitting her up on Facebook. Okay, people, Facebook and Twitter, that doesn't count. When you're with a person, meeting a person, talking to a person, that's dating. Interacting and tweeting somebody online, that don't count.
What about these social media, I don't know if they're called social media sites, but like dating websites? I'm sure you've come into contact with your clients maybe that use them. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a hit or miss too. That's hit or miss, because you got a lot of people on there who are ultra thirsty. Ooh. Extra thirsty, men and women, by the way. And sometimes you hear horror stories. But I don't discount them all the way, because there are some people, women, who are like, look, I'm busy. I don't feel like hitting up the club. I don't really want to talk to people on Facebook. So look, I'm Kathy. I'm 29. I work at the mall. Any nice guys out there who want to go have a drink every now and then. So that's a real honest thing. But when you have people on these dating sites like, hey, my name is Lisa. I'm tired of men who play games. I don't want no liars. I don't want nobody who's crazy. I don't want nobody who's abusive. Then people are like, okay. Ooh,
no kids.
Right.
Hashtag team single. Hashtag team Gemini.
Yeah. When you start dumping all of your psychosis out on Christian Mingle, we cool on that.
Well, maybe that can be your next book. You can, like, how to conquer the world of online dating.
Absolutely.
Or social media.
Yes, indeed.
All that.
Yeah, because when I wrote my books, my first books, that was like 15 years ago. So we didn't have all that stuff then. So I'm going to have to do an updated book about that. And you might have to help me with that stuff.
Yeah, let me know. I'll get the first copy. Anything else we should discuss before we get out of here?
Again, people can get all my books at Amazon.com and get the DVDs at Amazon.com and HiddenColorsFilm.com. And it's hot as hell in the studio.
It's super hot.
Like, man.
Where can they, because you host a radio show as well. Yes. Where is that?
The Tariq Elite Radio Show. That's TariqElite.com. Or Tariq, no, that's my clothing. I got so many sites. I have a clothing site. This is one of my shirts. That's TariqElite.com. But TariqRadio.com is where you can hear my weekly podcast that I do every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, what time?
5 in the afternoon. Every Wednesday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
And as far as like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Tariq Nasheed. Instagram is Tariq Elite, and Facebook is Tariq Elite as well.
Well, it has been a pleasure.
Yes, indeed.
Funnest interview I've done. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, this is AfterBuzz TV's Spotlight On. My guest today was Tariq Nasheed. Check out his new film, which is installment 3 of Hidden Colors, The Rules of Racism.
Yes.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.